Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with another episode of NBA Past and Present. This is episode number 18. Jonathan, welcome back to the show. We took a little break. I went to Carolina and just disappeared into the shadows, into the depths of into the shadows, and I'm back.
The soccer world. Of the soccer world.
I did. I left the basketball world that I live and breathe in, and I went into the murky waters of girls soccer, and I'm back and ready. I'm rejuvenated and revived and ready to rock and roll. We just got done watching I'm looking up here because my TV is like right here above my screen. We just got done watching the Golden State Warriors Kings Game 4. It's Sunday, April 23rd. It's about 5:21 p.m. Central Time. Chaotic ending, man. Were you were pulling for the Kings? I take it.
I really don't have a preference other than not liking Draymond. I really don't. It doesn't really matter to me.
You know what? I'm pulling for the Kings because I've got a little FanDuel action on the Kings. I need them to win. But I'll tell you what, I would love to see LeBron and Curry for the player of the player of the generation, right? I mean, after Kobe and LeBron, it's LeBron and Curry is like, if Curry wins one, let's see, where does that put everybody historically? I don't think Curry can catch LeBron historically. But if he has another ring, that'll give him four and five. That'll give him five with Kobe. And then LeBron will have four.
Right.
Ooh. Again, just because they beat the Lakers doesn't mean they're winning a ring. Let's put it that. Right. Let's remember that. But that would be a great series to watch because I think that would be that'd be bragging rights and that'd be fun. Anyway, just sad that the Kings lost. Kings just looked inexperienced. Honestly, the Warriors did some really stupid crap at the end, too. It wasn't like the Kings shit the bed or anything. De'Aaron Fox looks like the real deal, which I've said for years. He's a problem.
He's making threes, and, you can't do anything with it.
He's making threes, shooting a high percentage from mid-range, too, which not many people do anymore that are not named Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. And so he's hitting a high percentage of those, too. Today's episode is about I had to get a 30-day pass to The Athletic to even pull this up. The Athletic, Sam Emick and some other dude do a NBA players anonymous poll where they polled 108 NBA players. They give anonymous answers so they don't have to be afraid of what they say and any backlash. And we're going to go through it question by question and just kind of give our thoughts and answers and examine the opinions of the players. Some of it makes sense. Some of it was preposterous and stupid. And some of the players don't deserve to be NBA players anymore after some of the answers they gave. But we're going to go through that kind of just question by question. How many questions was it? Maybe 10, 12, something like that?
I think 10, but I think this is what it proves why NBA players, it's maybe 50-50 as to whether or not they're going to make good analysts one day, right?
Or coaches.
Well, that's even worse. But I'm just talking
that's even worse, right?
Talk about basketball, right?
It's pretty rare for former players to make good coaches. I say that keeping in mind, Kerr's great. What?
Former stars.
It's really hard for former stars. And that's part of that might be a mentality deal and expectations deal. But Kerr was a former player and a good, good player by all standards, but not a superstar. Right. But like Spoelstra, Popovich, who are we talking about as far as great coaches in the NBA?
The guys currently right
Budenholzer, none of these guys were players.
Willow Jenkins in Memphis is a good coach, obviously, but I don't know. Look, but think about this. The only superstar I can ever remember being a really, really good coach was Larry Bird.
Bird was not a bad coach.
That was it.
Bird was not a bad coach. And Bill Russell when he was playing and coaching.
Well, yeah. That's
and Wilt coached the Conquistadors, if I'm not mistaken.
True. Conquistadors. Very true.
Pronounced conquistadors. All right, let's whip through FanDuel quick. I don't want to lose people. We're going to lose people like we always do. All right, talk about FanDuel.
Okay, super quick. So I got back on the wagon. Off the wagon? On the wagon? I don't know, whatever it is. But anyhow.
You re-entered the wagon.
I'm betting again. Okay. So, but I'm betting only on over-unders of player performance now. So I've changed my thing.
Not 27 leg parlays.
No. It's like 5, 6, maybe 7 legs at the very most. Okay. So The other day, I bet on the Suns game, and it was somebody else. But anyhow, it was Booker was 30.5 points. I bet the under on that. I bet Durant over on 28. Well, he ends up with 31. Okay, so everything on my parlay has happened except for Booker being under 30.5 because the game's still not over. But he's at 27. It's under a minute left. Game's over, dude. Okay, game's over. All right. He catches the inbounds. I'm like, God dang it, they're going to foul him. He gives the ball up to Durant. I'm like, fantastic. He flashes down the middle of the court. Durant gives it back to him. He says, oh, I'll just go shoot this, and gets fouled and goes to the free throw line and makes the free throw. So now he's at 30.
30. Okay.
So next possession, team goes down and scores. They inbound it to Booker. Now there's going to be a few seconds left that overlap the shot clock and game clock. And I'm like, oh, my God, he's going to shoot it.
He's going to take a turnover. He's got to just take a turnover.
He just gave it up to give somebody else a turnover. And I won $450 on a 5-leg parlay. Well, just now.
Wait, you won how much?
$450 on a 5-leg, $5 bet. $5.
Dude, that could buy you some good Jordan cards right there. That's awesome. That's an awesome bet. 5 to win $450. That's insane.
Now, how about this one? The Warriors just now. Okay, I'm betting it's the Clay game coming. I knew it was coming, right?
It's coming. We felt like it was, but he had an okay game.
So I bet the over. I bet Draymond over on assists and rebounds. Clay over on points. Steph. I didn't bet Steph on points, but I bet threes for Curry and Thompson over.
Okay.
The payout was 300 something on a $5 bet. Okay. Clay didn't make 1 3 that I needed. That was it. Everybody else got everything that they needed. And he got 2 looks at the end of the game, too.
He made a 3.
He made 4 instead of 5.
You needed 5. Damn, 5 seems like a lot, but that's not a lot. Like, I guess threes made per game. I think he and Curry were 1 and 2 in the NBA. Were they not?
Yeah, and then he had the most makes for the year. He's only the third guy.
He played the most games. Yeah.
He's only third guy over 300.
All right, I've got one really quick story, and it's soccer related, so we're really going to put people to sleep. So This morning, Newcastle and Tottenham are playing in the Premier League. That's the English soccer league. Oh, sorry, I lost. All right, let's talk about this player poll. All right, so no, I've got it. Hang on, I've got it pulled up. Okay, here, let me switch you over. Screen share. Here it is. It's on The Athletic. You've got to have a password and a username. So I got a 30-day guest pass or whatever. They're going to auto charge me if I don't cancel it before then. So I need to put a reminder in my phone 29 days from now to cancel this. I'm not paying to read an article. Right. But I do care about the people watching. So I got this free guest pass and I took the chance. All right. So it's on The Athletic. They polled 108 NBA players. Let's just start with question 1. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this crap. We talked about this ad nauseum. Embiid's going to win it. It's Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis that are left. The 3 top ones are Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. That's the order. That's the order they're going to finish. Tatum, SGA, and Luka is. I mean, we had 2 of those 3 guys in ours, so everybody's on the same page. Not even worth talking about.
Well, look, hold on, real quick. I'm surprised, honestly. I'm surprised Jokic finished ahead of Giannis on the players ballot.
On the players poll.
Yeah.
And as we keep going, we're going to see other questions where it's real evident how highly people think of Giannis. Players, I mean, how highly they think of Giannis. Okay. Best defender. This is where I start getting pissed off, and I'm mad. I'll be honest with you because we talked about this when we did our awards. Yeah. Here's what jumps out at you. Drew Holiday, 28.7%. That means out of 108, that's about, what is that, 29 maybe, 28, 29 of them said Drew Holiday is the best defender in the NBA.
Yeah.
He wasn't even remotely in the picture for freaking Defensive Player of the Year. Evan freaking overrated Mobley was in the picture. He was the 3rd candidate, right? Wasn't it? Wasn't it Brooke Lopez, Jaren Jackson, and Evan Mobley? And I know this is an award that traditionally does go to bigs. It did go to Marcus Smart last year, which was another joke.
Yes.
But Drew Holiday getting 28.7% of the player votes, 98 votes. Okay, so that means he got, 29 of the vote or 27 of the votes or something like that. So that really, or 28 of the votes, I guess. That really jumps out at me. That's a huge disparity. He got more votes than 2nd and 3rd, and almost 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. He actually got more votes than Dort, Lopez, and Smart combined. It's also funny that Dort was 2nd on the list.
Yeah.
And Brooke Lopez was 8.9%, more than twice as many votes as Jaren Jackson, who's going to win the stupid award. He won the stupid award.
Yep.
I just think that right there shows you the disparity between asking a player who actually has to play against these guys and then asking somebody, us included, who watches it on TV to make a decision. But, I've always said Drew Holiday would be the guy that I would least like to see, on a wing facing up, guarding me or whatever. What do you think about this? Anything else stand out to you? Marcus Smart's still up there at 8.9%.
I know, man. There's two things on here. First of all, I love the first two. I love them. I think it's fantastic. Okay. I'm surprised Embiid's not higher on the list. And I'm going to tell you who is working their way onto the list. And that's this little dude with Sacramento who is
Davion Mitchell.
Dude, he is a freaking dog. Oh, my God.
He's obnoxiously under you and up into you. Yes.
Breathe. Like, you can't breathe. Like, Steph is one of the greatest ball handlers ever and, can't go anywhere without him. He just finally gave up today and begged for a switch and got it and scored on Harrison Barnes. But it was funny, though, man. Yeah. I like the list overall, though. I'm glad that one guy in particular did not make the list. I am hoping to God he doesn't fall in that other category somewhere.
He's going to be on another one of these polls in just a second, but it's on the one where he belongs. It's on the one where he belongs. So I'll let you figure that out.
Overrated. Yes. Good. Let's go. All right.
Okay. So here's something else that jumps out at me. Kawhi Leonard, in 2019, I think they did this poll last and he was by far the best defender. And now he's 2%. It just, part of that's actually playing in the games. And we saw him when he was at his best, but it sounds like his season's over. You are right, man. The fact that Embiid is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th best defensive center, I ain't buying that, dude. No. And I'm certainly sure as hell not buying he's not as good a defender as Evan Mobley, who can be pushed pretty much off the court by any big player. And he has been pushed off the court by the New York Knicks in this series and exposed.
Mobley's your new least favorite player, isn't he? It's crazy. And
here's the deal.
He's a good kid, too. He's not like a punk or anything.
No, he tries hard. He's not stupid. Like, he plays intelligent basketball. But, dude, he's 145 pounds, and I'm just tired of hearing people use the word Tim Duncan. The name Tim Duncan when comparing Mobley. And Kevin Garnett, stop doing that.
Yeah, you're right.
Stop it. Like, everybody needs to stop that comparison. That is a ridiculous comparison.
Yes.
Just because he's sort of shaped like those guys doesn't mean he belongs in that same conversation.
Sort of. Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, he's a tall black guy. Okay, there you go. That's you're right. So was Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett. But my God, dude. Completely different play. He's closer to Theo Ratliff than Tim Duncan. Let's put it that way.
Great call.
Let's put it that way. Okay. I do think he's going to be a good player. I do think he's going to sniff all-star teams. But, dude, people are on his jock so hard so early. I've had enough. I just don't see it offensively. I'll either look like an absolute fool idiot or, maybe I'll be proven right in the long run. Anyway, decent player, but come on, man, he's not a better defender than Embiid. The list of other active players that got a vote, Anunoby should definitely have been on this list. Certainly ahead of a lot of the names that I'm looking at here. Anthony Davis did not make the list. That's weird. Chris Dunn got a vote, who is my guy. He's one of my prospects gone wrong. Paul George, Walker Kessler, who had a phenomenal rookie season defensively. Andrew Nembhard, I didn't even know he played defense. I never noticed him really. Okoro never gets on the court long enough to play defense. Jalen Suggs is undersized, and I really don't know where he belongs. And then Jared Vanderbilt, who might be a tad overrated. He's really thrown up some stinker stat lines for the Laker teams, although his responsibility is primarily just face guard the best player and just hope for the best. Anyway, enough on that. What makes me mad is that Drew Holiday is clearly the player's favorite for the best defender in the league. And Jaren Jackson, who is 8th or 7th or whatever he is on that list, won the defensive player of the year. I just don't think it's right. You're building a roster from scratch. Who are you going to sign first?
And the question is it for a season or for,
Yeah, when I hear this question, and I'm sure you agree with me, I think you're starting a franchise.
Yeah.
And you're looking for longevity, right? You've got the player for forever, right? For perpetuity. I think some of the players obviously might have thought you're just trying to put together the best roster to win a title in 1 year, and that's why you're going to see Steph Curry, LeBron James, because surely nobody in their right mind would pick Steph or LeBron like going forward 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, Father Time's undefeated,
Right.
as legendary as those two guys are. We know they're not going to outlast Giannis. They're not going to outlast Jokic. They're not going to outlast Doncic.
Right.
Let's presume that they meant you're going to start a franchise.
Okay.
I'm assuming they were told you cannot select Wembanyama.
I guess. Yeah, it had to be current pros.
I mean, because surely, Wembanyama's name would at least be in the others getting votes, like Alperen Şengün was.
No.
Yes. Someone chose Alperen Şengün as their guy. That's who they would start their franchise with. Again, good player, really good player. I really like him a lot. But please, let's be serious here. Evan Mobley did sneak into the others getting votes as well. He got one vote. What do you think about this? Did you expect the disparity to be so great between Giannis and Jokic?
No, I didn't. I would have thought Luka would have been higher than Jokic.
Agreed.
Agreed. I agree with the first three. SGA needs to be up there. Ja obviously is back. So
Tatum or SGA for you?
I gotta see SGA play with like good players. I don't.
They're not bad, dude. They're going to be a lot better next year.
I know, but I mean, like, put him with Boston. Is Boston better with him than they are with Tatum? They might be. I don't know. I'm just saying. It
would be fun to watch.
I know. I'd like to see it. It's probably kind of a toss-up because I think SGA is legitimately underrated. And will be
not. I mean, he's first team All NBA now, so we got to stop saying that. I get it. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be if people were healthy. He would.
Yeah. I think he's sneaking into the conversation with a Tatum, and I'll tell you who else is sneaking in after we got to watch him tonight is De'Aaron Fox is sneaking into this conversation as well because you start talking about the best young point guards in the NBA. You talk about John Morant, you talk about Fox, you talk about Jalen Brunson sneaking around. You got I guess we're calling Luka Doncic a point guard, because that's the position he plays. So we're talking about him with those guys as well. So an unbelievable crop of young point guards coming up.
Speaking of De'Aaron Fox, I want coaches to learn from the end of the game that just happened. Stop hunting switches with 10 seconds or less of a game or a shot clock when the guy guarding the guy with the ball can't guard him. Stop.
Is the guy you would like to guard him, right? That's the guy you would be hunting. Yeah.
No. Now, stop.
Normally, I get it. Normally, you'd rather Steph Curry defend De'Aaron Fox. So for that reason, you run a pick and roll at him. But it's just too easy with that little time on the clock. Yeah. It's just too easy to muck it up with a heavy, strong hedge or a double.
Yep.
And look, to Fox's credit, at the end of the game, if y'all didn't see it, he had Draymond Green. He lost the ball, grabbed it, had a running start, had Draymond Green on him, and they brought Steph Curry into the PNR. And Steph just hedged the shit out of it and kind of almost reached. I thought he almost made a mistake. Yeah. Fox kind of bobbled the ball, then went back at it, drew both of them on a double team, and then made the right decision to the wrong person, to Harrison Barnes, who's had a pretty good series, honestly, but not the greatest shooter and probably not the guy you want taking a last-second shot. But he got a clean look, and he hit back iron. It wasn't a bad miss at all.
Right.
I don't know. I was really just hoping that calling a timeout when you didn't have one by this dynastic team of experienced veterans would have come back to bite them, and then that's all anybody would have talked about for like 48 hours.
I'm just telling you, Fox puts Draymond in a position where the referees are going to have to make a call, and it's a tough spot to be in. But with him coming off what he just did, and who Fox is turning out to be,
just go left.
Yeah, tough spot.
Just go left. You got a head start. You got Draymond Green on you. Don't play with it. Don't dance with it. Just go left as hard as you can and try to outpace him. And if you don't, then you can kick it out to Harrison Barnes on a dribble handoff, Yep. I guess it's easier said than done. There's a lot of shit going on in the NBA game, Game 4. Now it's 2-2 going back. If you had to put money on it in FanDuel, you betting on the Kings or the Golden State Warriors going forward?
Oh, man, I think it goes I don't know. I would bet Golden State just because they're who they are, but I'm not going to be surprised now. I was going to be surprised if Sacramento won the series. I'm not going to be surprised now.
Well, everything that they talked about pre-series was how good Golden State was at home and how bad they were on the road. And it came to play. So it's 2-2. They won both games at home. They lost both games on the road, and they're going back to Sacramento. Sacramento still has home court advantage. It's a 3-game series. So we'll see how it turns out. 97 votes here. Who's the most underrated player? So number one is other, which means there was really no like unanimity or consistency with everybody's votes. They just threw it out there. They didn't give them a list. And so for that reason, like 34%, what is that? 33 of the 97 votes were for players that didn't get more than one vote. Apparently, the list is massive. Maxi Kleber, Paul Reed got a vote like Dennis Smith Jr., DeLon Wright.
Hey, hold up.
Christian Wood got an underrated player vote. That's interesting.
Hey, 1 second. Where am I missing this? Where is Lauri Markkanen?
This is racially biased list.
Well, no, it's not because Austin Reeves is on it. Austin Reeves is on it, so it can't be.
Oh, that's right. He's the whitest player in the league.
Yeah. Where's Lauri Markkanen?
Dude, I think you're right. Oh, here he is. He got one vote.
One vote.
He and Sam Hauser got one vote.
Oh, well, they're about the same player, ultimately. Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of like Mobley being Tim Duncan because they're tall and black. Yeah, those two guys are white, so they're
crazy. That's crazy.
God, are you serious?
So once again, my guy, Drew Holiday. Our guy, Drew Holiday, got more votes than any other one player. SGA is next. And then Michael Bridges is next. And then Brunson, Jaden McDaniels. All of these McDaniels guys keep getting votes on stuff. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Anthony Edwards. Jaren Jackson got an underrated vote somehow. I have no idea how. Maybe somebody misread the question.
Damian Lillard is underrated.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Damian Lillard is and where he belongs. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting list. That's a tough question. When you don't have like a multiple choice, right?
I'll tell you who I think is honestly, and he's on the list. I think Brunson's the most underrated player in the league, and I know people are starting to recognize him, but that dude is really, really, really good. And if they beat Cleveland, he's the reason, and they shouldn't beat Cleveland, in my opinion. But
we coached. You remember we coached against him at UIBL? Yeah, and I was like, this little fat guy is the guy that people are talking about. This is the name that I read. He looked like a little chubby little kid.
Yes,
and his resume is pretty stout now, man. 2 at Villanova, most outstanding player.
Yep.
And then he's taking the Knicks team. It looks like they're going to get into round 2. I'm going to lose. I bet 4 series in a parlay. I'm going to get all of my series, but I'm not going to get that one. I think the Knicks are going to close them out.
Yep.
They're just too tough. Cleveland's just too soft, dude. And I mean, I think the fact that their backcourt's so teeny tiny is really a problem, and not that Brunson's this big animal, but
he's strong as an ox, though, dude.
He's strong and he's just savvy. And he hits. I don't know. Maybe it'll still go 7. Who knows? Greatest player of all time. Do we need to talk about this at all? Other than the fact that Tracy McGrady got
or that Kobe is 3rd, which I get it with today's generation. I understand that.
They're asking a bunch of guys in their 20s and 30s, dude. So.
Here's my question.
Okay.
If Bill Russell doesn't pass away this year, is he on this list?
If Bill Russell what?
If he doesn't pass away this year, do you think he's on this list?
Well, he got 1 vote, dude. So
I don't care. He's on the list. I'm saying
he got 1 vote though. I mean, he got the same number of votes as Tracy McGrady, which is basically 0.
That is absurd. That is unbelievable.
I'm just surprised Jordan only got 58% because these guys are old. I mean,
they're LeBron guys.
LeBron took a lot of Jordan's votes. Kobe getting 6.8%, which is 7 votes.
I would have thought he'd have got more.
There's a lot of delusional people and delusional players out there. Not that Kobe wasn't great. Again, He's in both of our top 10s.
Yep.
But to have him as top 1 is just indefensible, and there's just no way you could possibly intelligently, logically defend that.
Correct.
And again, it's not an insult to say Kobe Bryant's a top 10 player of all time, but he's not remotely close to number 1. He is just not. And neither is Bill Russell or Tracy McGrady for that matter. Tracy McGrady. In this poll, Tracy McGrady is Kobe Bryant's best friend because it takes all the attention off of Kobe and squarely onto the fact that someone chose Tracy McGrady. I'm trying to look through here to see if they can out the person who said Tracy McGrady, but that person needs to lose their NBA card. Anyway, whatever. Who in the league would you least like to fight? This is kind of like an NBA past and present question. This is a question we would ask.
It's a good one. I like it.
Who thought of it? Who would you least like to fight? Who would you least like to go on a double date with? Those are the kind of questions that like NBA past and present comes up with.
Hey, look, my guy Dort made it. Good. I told you that.
Hell yeah, Dort made it.
Good.
God, dog.
That's
Dort,
good.
2 votes, yeah. Admiral Schofield, I like the way they're thinking there.
Look, He's a scary looking dude, man.
Dude, he's like his chest. I tell you what, I would like to see Grant Williams somewhere on here. I don't see him. I do see Michael Carter Williams at 6'6", 119 pounds for some reason. Maybe. And is he in the NBA still?
Okay. I don't think he is. DeMar DeRozan's on the list.
Both Morrises.
I was going to say Draymond not being on the list was great, but he got votes.
Isaiah Stewart. That's a good one.
Boban is not a good one.
Who?
Boban.
Well, people watched John Wick. Have you seen him in John Wick?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. They assume he's an assassin. Lindy Waters, the third.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into that, but he plays for the Thunder. I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay. James Johnson is that dude, apparently, man.
I think he's the Alvin Robertson of this era, because I've heard from numerous people like, no, he's really about it. Like he's the last one, right? He's not the one, right?
He's the Oakley who slaps Barkley in the face, like he's Oakley to Barkley kind of deal.
And Steven Adams is just a 7-foot caveman. Hey, like he's ready to just
all you needed to see was what Shannon Sharp did when that dude walked over to the other side.
I'm gonna need you to sit back down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Joel Embiid, Haslam at the ripe old age of 49, the only player in the NBA older than me. Yeah, that's cool, man. This is what happens when word gets out that Johnson has earned a black belt in karate and is said to own a 20-0 kickboxing record.
Okay.
I guess you could click a link.
Dude,
his name is Bloodsport.
That's great. Oh, I love it. I love it.
That's not smoke they want. I've seen it in person. 6'7", 240.
Yeah. I've heard he's that dude.
Dude, he was number one when they did this poll 4 years ago, and he's still number one.
Yeah.
And the runner-up then was Steven Adams, and it's still Steven Adams.
I love it. I love it.
All right, which arena has the best fans? Boston 1, Sacramento 2, Warriors 3. Wow, and they're in the same series. Okay, that's interesting. And it held true, right? 2-2. They both went 2-0 at home. What do you think about this? Anything stand out to you? You know what stands out to me? And we're going to put these two together. The Jazz, okay, and this might be it says which arena has the best fans. So we don't know if that means which team has the best home court advantage or which team has the most cordial fans, like, hey, nice game, Mr. LeBron, and scrap like, you know what I'm saying?
I think it's the most loud and raucous fans kind of deal.
See, the reason I don't think it is, Jonathan, is because the next question is which arena has the worst fans, and Detroit's on there, and then the Jazz are on there. And the Jazz are on there because all their fans are racist, allegedly, right? Or that's the talk. I didn't say that. I'm just saying you hear repeatedly the Jazz, Utah, da-da-da-da-da. And the Jazz fans are a problem, and NBA players often talk about racism being pervasive in the Vivint Arena. But see, the Jazz is 4th on the worst fans, and the Jazz is 7th on the best fans. And that's why maybe I think different players could have got the question confused. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't care at all about either of these categories.
I don't either. We're going to keep going. But the worst fans are the Hornets, and that's the only reason they lose. Their fans. Their team is loaded with talent. They lose because the Spectrum Center's fans are just not that good.
And their owner has done a great job of gathering talent. Yeah.
Indeed.
Comfortable to himself. Yeah. Anyhow, sorry.
Yeah. They even said the word worst in this question is subjective. We own that. In our conversation with players, they tended to interpret the question as how quiet or empty the arena is. Okay, so maybe they did. Maybe that is what they thought. And then the Pistons, somebody said nobody shows up.
I wonder how
next year if they get Wembanyama and Cade Cunningham, they're going to show up. That's going to be pretty.
I wonder how quiet an arena gets when Bloodsport decides he wants to fight somebody on the other team.
You better be quiet. Just let it unfold. Which current coach, aside from your own, would you most want to play for?
Shocker. The 3 best. That's great. Congratulations.
the 3 best by reputation, yes.
Right.
Popovich, Kerr, and Spoelstra.
Yeah.
Tyronn Lue sneaks in there. Which current coach, aside from your own, would you least want to play for? Clearly, that is not a surprise. I've heard about his practices.
Yes,
Plus, nobody can understand what he's saying. Like, he's got rocks in his throat. Stephen Silas should have been 109% of the votes.
Yes. Yeah. By the way, he's
He's not a coach anymore, so he should not have been included on this list.
Have you ever seen
he'll never get another chance, ever.
Have you ever seen a coach look more in pain than Tom Thibodeau?
No.
All the time.
But I've also never seen a coach look more confused than Stephen Silas.
That's for sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's the coach.
Interesting.
Okay, this is a good one. This is a really good one. Which team other than your own will win the title this season? Bucks, 62%, Jonathan. Yikes. That's a big number, man. Of course, this is before the Giannis injury, obviously, I'm assuming. Or
betting on Giannis.
Huh?
People betting on Giannis, banking on Giannis.
They're not going to win it without Giannis, that's for sure. They're in trouble.
Sure.
You don't have any. You're not concerned about this? You think Giannis will play in Game 4 and win it?
Here's the deal. I think he's going to play in Game 4. I don't know if he finishes Game 4. I mean, you've seen it all year long, and so there is something definitely seriously wrong with the dude. You know what I'm saying? So he's as tough as they get. I
was about to say, if he's not playing in these games, I can see him. I don't know. I think they're just waiting as long as they can until he has to play. And the decision is going to be, do we have to play him in Game 4 or do we have to play him in Game 5 down 3-1? I think you got to play him in Game 4.
I do too.
If you're going to take the chance and run him out there and see what happens, I think you got to try Game 4, man, because if you give up Game 4, 3-1 is no joke against the Heat, against anybody in the NBA.
At least I'll say that if you're looking for a silver lining, and I know he's still not all the way back, but Middleton has shown signs, at least, right? A little bit of being able to create his own again and all that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And it's a shame what happened to Oladipo, man. He's a good dude.
Awful.
Yeah. Worked really hard to get back. And
he knew it right when he did it. You saw it. He didn't even freak. He just was like, oh, God.
He's done. I think he's done forever.
I do too. I
think he's done forever. So the East represents all the strength here with over 80% of the votes, and then Golden State is an overwhelming favorite in the West, according to players, apparently. Yeah. None of those other teams I don't think are going to – well, the Denver and Phoenix. I'm surprised Phoenix didn't get more votes, Jonathan.
I'm wondering when the vote was taken.
Yeah, I thought they said, well, it was released April 19th, maybe. Yeah, that's a good question. When were the questions asked? Right. And we just didn't do our research because we're not professional. Who is the best ref? Now, look, here's what you'll notice. Look how many votes. 66, okay? So 40-ish players were like, I'm not taking any chances on this anonymity. I'm not taking any chances that a ref can figure out who said who sucks.
Yep.
So 66 voted for best ref and 59 voted for worst ref. So I don't think they trusted the Athletic.
But so there's the list. Go look at the worst ref right now. Go look at it real quick.
I know.
I mean, he's second or third, I guess, if you want to say it.
Tony Brothers is third for worst ref, and he's far and away best ref.
Far and away.
And then Scott Foster is third in best ref and worst ref.
Far and away.
Far.
Yeah.
By a magnitude of 3. So I think it just depends on whether they like you as a player, the type of calls that you get. You know, maybe they're pro-veteran, or maybe is probably what it likely is. You earn your respect. You get your calls from those two veteran officials, right?
Chris Paul only got 1 vote, so that's why Foster did not end up.
That's right.
Even further ahead.
Interesting. Who talks the most trash on the court?
No, that's obvious.
These 3 would have been the 3 that if you'd asked me to guess, these are the 3 that I would have guessed.
Yes.
I don't think I would have gotten to Booker. I've heard stories about Joe Ingles. About Jingles and his trash talking.
Yeah. Booker talks a lot, dude.
Booker does talk a lot. I have heard that. And he's another guy that is not running away from a fight based on, what I've seen. Draymond Green talking the most, Patrick Beverly talking the most, Dylan Brooks. 3 guys who should never speak at all talk the most trash, apparently.
Yeah.
And then Devin Booker is 4th, who's kind of earned the right to talk because he's actually good.
Yep.
Chris Paul's on here. Embiid does talk. He never shuts up. The Memphis Kids, I guess that's kind of, more votes partially for Dylan Brooks because they're going to include John Morant in there and Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks. I don't get the vibe that Desmond Bane's part of that kids, because I don't get the impression he's a trash talker. He seems like a class act. So anyway,
I've never seen anybody look funnier on a basketball court than Desmond Bane. Like,
dude, his arms are so short.
I know. It's strange.
I wonder what he measured. I think Redick has the worst ever wingspan measurement. He's like a -3 or something stupid. Like he's 6'4" and he measured 6'1" wingspan. Desmond Bane's arms, he looks like a T-Rex. Now look, his biceps are fantastic in every way.
Yeah, they better be.
Dude, his little tiny arms. I don't know how he gets his shot off.
They better be. He ought to be able to bench 400 pounds too, because he doesn't have to move him anywhere.
Doesn't have to lift it anywhere. He's like 4 inches off his chest, his little midget arms. What's the biggest issue facing the league? This pisses me off because this should not have been close. Officiating is not in the top 15.
Load management should have been the whole list. That should have been it.
Load management should have been the whole list. This is player denial. And I really think, and we didn't talk too much about this, I think that the owners really shit the bed letting this CBA get agreed to without better addressing load management for a couple reasons. Like, anybody out there who thinks this 65-game requirement to make an All-NBA team has anything to do with fixing load management, it's going to have no bearing whatsoever. Number one, it's not the players that want to sit when they're dinged up. It's the owners and not the owners. It's like the staff and management. They are telling players, hey, you're running hot. Your metrics look like this. We need to sit you, or we're trying to lose some more games. We need to sit you. Yep. So, making 65 the minimum for all NBA, first of all, that affects how many people in the NBA? 15. Let's say 30 people are in the mix to make the 15 all NBA spots. So 30 players are affected by that. The NBA has, last I checked, probably 450 rostered players, but throughout the course of the season, 550 players probably play in the NBA. Right. So that 65-game all NBA minimum doesn't mean shit to any of these players, except for about 30 of them. Yeah. Secondly, it's management that makes those decisions and training staff. Thirdly, management is incentivized to make sure their players play 64 games, not 65, because it changes how much they have to pay them in a guaranteed contract.
I think first of all, and then you left out one thing. There are guys like, and I don't know for a fact, of course, but I'm guessing Kawhi Leonard doesn't care if he ever makes another All-NBA team. Like, he just comes across that way to me. Like, who cares, right? The other thing is, you want to talk about some legal issues that this will stem, because now you're right. When the management does do that, and it's pretty obvious that, nope, he only played 63 games because we had to sit. That's going to be an issue if incentives are indeed a part of the contract. It's going to be a major issue. And you know what? The players are going to be the ones who now can go, yeah, I'm telling you I did. And they're going to start throwing people under the bus and tell them,
but throw out the new 65 in the CBA. And for those of you who don't know, the new CBA requires you to play 65 games to be eligible for an All-NBA team, with a couple of caveats and carve-outs. But why isn't it already an issue, even without the 65?
I think simply because
it's the hard and fast number. Like, you got to make 65. Like, if your last game of the season would be game 65, and management says sit your ass on the bench, and you're a player, and you're like, that's a $40 million game. Right. That's extra $40 million over the next 4 years. I don't think so. I'm playing in this game. Now you do have the potential for some player in the player versus management disunity.
Well, think about what happened to Ja this year, right? Now, granted, the gun thing and the suspension and all that, right? So he missed some games. And he's not going to make an All-NBA team probably because of that now. But if he does, maybe third, maybe, right? But the point is, that could have affected him. And I think we talked about this, and it was like $40-50 million.
Big number, dude, over 4 years, yeah.
Right. And so I think, yes, it's a hard, fast number, but I also think when you look at the guys that are being affected by it, okay, typically it's the older guys who are like, I'm good. Fine. Sit me. It's fine. No big deal. I'm making my money. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I think they need to attach something else other than accolades to the 65 games in order to really make it hurt. They got to do it, because otherwise these dudes, they're not going to, like Damian Lillard at this point. Now, granted, he's a terrible example, but let's just say he was a guy in that, because he ended up playing only 58 games. if he'd have played 65, shoot, he'd have made probably second team All-NBA on a team that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. If he cared about that, yeah, it would matter. But I just don't think a dude like that cares about it at this point.
Well, he's got his contract's done. I mean, he's getting 60 over the last 2 years of his contract extension.
Right.
I think it's going to be a big problem. Like we still see this grumpy old white dude on the couch who really likes football, but will watch basketball screaming that, these guys in the NBA don't play any defense. Those guys are the same guys. And I agree with him in this case. This is a problem. You can't go to games not knowing if anybody's going to play. It's bad when you flip on the TV and you're watching the Clippers with no Kawhi, or you're watching the Warriors with no Steph and Clay. It's significantly worse when you get in your car, drive to an arena, pay hundreds of dollars for tickets for you and your family or your kids or whatever, and then you get there and you for instance, I watched a Pelicans game with no Zion, no Ingram, no Damian Lillard. It was like, what are we doing here, man?
Dude, it ticks me off to no end that they even talked about shortening the season, because now you're just feeding into these dudes even more. Like, are you serious? Like, really, we're going to pay them the same amount, ultimately, the stars at least, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be the middle tier to bottom tier guys that are going to get hurt by it. But the stars, you can get paid the same amount. And now not only is there going to be load management, but then there's less games. People are saying, oh, well, yeah, but it'll intensify those games for playoff seeding, this, that, the other. Man, the West just proved it this year. They don't care what seed they are as long as they're in the playoffs, because nobody really believes until it happens that Denver's going to come out of the West, even though they're an issue.
Look, I'm not a doctor. I'm certainly not a male nurse.
Thank God.
Thank God. I can't understand the science behind it, because the players today have better access to nutritional, advice or I guess like instruction and guidance, better access to medical equipment and technology and massage therapy and dry needling and cupping and think of all the things that we know about how to take care and improve and elongate the duration of peak performance of the human body today compared to, say, 1995. And if you go back and look at those guys, not to mention the way that they're traveling compared to the way they used to travel. If you go back to Wilt and Bill Russell, it's cars and trains. Then you go to commercial flights. And now you're on private jets specifically tailored to teams with treatment centers on the planes. I don't see any science behind it. Guys are missing way more games today. Guys are getting injured more today than guys were in the 90s. And go look at the track records of a Stockton, a Malone, a Jordan, a Pippen, a Horace Grant, fill in the blank. Pick any of these absolute icons from the late 80s and early 90s and go look at their games played. And it was really, really, really high. And they played really long careers. Most of them, not all of them, most of them. And the ones that didn't, I don't think Tracy McGrady, his career was shortened because of overplaying, or Grant Hill. It was just like freak stuff happens, man. I mean, it's always going to happen. You can sit Anthony Davis as much as you want to. He's going to get hurt. We saw it again with Kawhi. You can sit him as much as you want to, and he's going to look fresh for 2 games. He's going to get hurt. Some players are just prone to getting injured. But I think they're taking players like that and the injuries that they suffer, like an Anthony Davis and a Kawhi Leonard and a Zion, and they're saying C, and they're applying it to everybody, and that's not the case. It should not apply to everybody. Some of the guys that play the most minutes and the most games are the most durable.
Yes.
And I just don't see the science.
It goes back to, and I've talked to some agents about this, and I've actually talked to trainers on one NBA team in particular when I was in their facility at one point about this exact question, okay? And I got more than one answer that was this. It is, well, here's the deal. The fact remains that, yes, they have access to more than anybody had back then, but they're not putting their bodies through the same things that those guys did. So their bodies are not conditioned to deal with the pounding that those guys were. It's similar to, and not 100%, because football is obviously a lot more violent, but it's similar to when you hear about football coaches who say, we need to hit every once in a while in practice so that we're in hitting shape, right? So your body's used to taking that pounding. But, okay, the other side of the coin is, while these guys today aren't putting themselves through the pounding. And this is not me. This is not my summation. This is what I'm being told. Okay.
Sure.
Back then, yes, those guys missed way less games, but their careers were typically 12, 13 years long. Now you're going to find guys that like on the high end, right? Now you're finding guys who play 18, 19, LeBron, 20 years. But see, to me, I still look at it and say that's bullshit. You know why? Because you can play 20 years if you've only played 10 years worth of games.
Yeah.
You know, like who cares if you're playing half the games every single year? So, and I'm engaged in that. But anyhow, so that I think that's some reasoning behind it. But I'm with you, man. We're going off about it, I know, but still.
Anyway. I mean, Michael Bridges is playing every minute of every game, and he's not missing any games. You know, for that matter. There's guys like him that are doing the same exact thing. They're not missing any games.
But what's happening though, and this is I left this out. Today's science and medicine is what allows, and granted he's a freak also, but what allows a guy like Durant to have a major injury and come back, and the first game he comes back, it's like he never skipped a beat. Ever.
Yeah, he's one guy that bounces back pretty damn strong. He looks pretty good. Right. He looks pretty good right away. Interesting. Okay, let's keep going. I think that's it. That's it. That's it. That surprised me. What else? What are some other things? Officiating was one. I just think that's ridiculous. It's just the nature of the game is that players are always bitching about the officials, and they think the officials are the reason they don't succeed. Load management, we think, should have been number one far and away. But players, I guess if they're catching, guaranteed contracts, they're fine to sit. Rules skewed in favor of offense. I agree with that. You think that's an issue? You and I are offensive players, so we want to see offense, but we don't want to see too much offense. I wouldn't say rules skewed in favor of offense. I would say rules skewed too much in favor of three-point shooting. That's what I personally would say. I think there's too many threes being taken. It's become a three-point contest where teams win or lose games based predominantly on their three-point percentage.
And you can be down 30 and come back and win because of that. But I also think it only applies in the regular season. If you're watching the playoffs right now, there's murder. I mean, it's murder going on the floor right now. So well, the other thing, and look, I don't know if I want to touch on this, but
well I just think, Jonathan, what if I'm a traditionalist too, so and I do value the history of statistics and things like that. But what if they move the 3-point line back?
I don't see it. I mean,
the problem is you can't move it back in the corners, or there is no corner three.
You raise the goal. You're gonna, you know what I'm saying?
No. I'm not talking anything crazy. Let's move it back 6 inches. Let's widen the court a little bit. It makes the 3-point shot harder to hit, which reduces the effectiveness from an analytical standpoint, which is everything now, and it opens the court for more mid-range stuff and more finishing at the rim.
Now you are penalizing guys for becoming much more skilled today than they were, 25
Why am I penalizing them? I'm rewarding every skill other than shooting a basketball. And in fact, you could even say, no, that means only the best of the best could take threes. And that's not taken away. It just requires, only the best of the best to be taking this type of volume of threes. I just think it's too many, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I mean, in what world should we be taking more threes than layups? It's just weird. I don't know.
And look, I'm gonna touch on something real quick, okay? And I'm gonna be careful here because I know I have to, okay? But the physical and mental health aspect of it, there are going to be people out there who look at this and go, okay, the physical health we've talked about with load management, okay, but the mental health aspect, people are going to go who know nothing about it at all, right? Are going to go, how can you possibly have mental health problems when you're making a minimum of, I don't know. I think the league average right now is what, 2.1 million? I think that's, or maybe it's over 3 now.
League average. I think it's a lot higher than that.
Yeah, I think it's over 3 now, but it's the minimum I think is like 500,000 if you're not even I don't know what it is. But anyhow, my point is people attach all that always to money.
The league minimum's 100. I'm sorry, right at 1 million.
Less than a minute. I mean, right at $1 million.
Long-term veterans
only if you're not on that's if you have locked in a roster spot. I'm talking about there are dudes on 2-way contracts who are making $500,000 a year.
10 million is the average NBA salary.
Huh, so it's not 3. 10.
No, that's well, when Dellavedova was making 11 4 years ago, I knew it couldn't be 3.
Hold on. Okay, it excludes 2-way and 10-day contracts.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. But my point is there are guys, because I trained one of them, okay, who was on a two-way contract. The dude's making, he made, over $1 million this year, on a two-way. And so it's like people attach it to that all the time. And there was a point where I was like, what could possibly be your problem? You're playing in the NBA. It wasn't even about the money for me, okay? And all it goes to prove is it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter. People got issues, man. They got issues that are far-reaching.
This is one place where I'm actually a sensitive human being. Usually I'm like, suck it up. You're not injured. Go play, right? But the reason I say this, and I don't want to come across as being overly sensitive, but no matter how much money you make, if you've got a wife, trouble in your marriage, and you've got to go spend 70% of the next 3 months on the road, that's tough. Yep. We know what Andrew Wiggins' deal was. That's really tough.
Yep.
If you've got a sick kid, or a kid that's going through cancer, or a kid that's just got a stomach ulcer, for God's sakes, or a stage fright, or has a learning disability, and you're a father, and you've got this pressure to be a father, a husband, and bring home the bacon and play. Those things wear on people, man. I mean, they go through the same kind of crap that we do. They just have a lot more zeros behind their salary. My mental health doesn't go up and down based on what type of month I had financially.
Right.
Right. It does. I don't know about you, but it does it for me. It has to do with my people that I love and how they're doing, in my everyday life. That's what dictates my mental health.
That's right. 100%. Yeah. I think it's a little bit overrated to hear guys talk, man, what could you possibly be worried about? A lot of people got a lot of money who are unhappy, so
mental health's on there. 3.6. Too many games. Again, if you start changing that, that's a bigger deal, I think, than changing the 3-point line distance. The goal height would be a big one, but changing the number of games is going to change the history of the NBA. Yep. It's going to put certain records out of reach forever. Yep. Basically, you put records to bed forever.
Yep.
If you do that. Some of them we already think have been put to bed forever. Like the all-time blocks record, it's done. Unless something changes in the rules, that record can't possibly ever be sniffed or approached, ever, under any circumstances. Either somebody would have to play 45 years, or something's going to have to change about the way the NBA is officiated or played. So,
or unless a guard is able to block 5 shots a game outside the arc every game.
That's right. Good luck. You're going to have to block a lot of threes. Let's put it that way. If you want to break Hakeem's record, not enough veterans. I've heard people talk about that. That's a big deal, man. You've got some places where I think Houston's a good example. I like that core of talent, but lack of veterans is a problem. And the veteran they had was kind of a shithead, Eric Gordon. Never won, just not a guy that you probably want in the locker room. Certainly not a leader in the locker room. We know guys. Garrett Temple's another great example. I don't think I'm going to offend Garrett by saying he's not the same player he used to be. But he's got a purpose on that team. He is literally a player coach. I've watched games and I watch Garrett on the sideline. A, he looks like he's having a blast. B, he's getting rich doing it. But C, he literally reminds me of a player coach liaison, Jonathan, and just kind of bridges that gap. Who knows what happens off the court, but I just get to see him on the court. He's constantly in players' ears. Young player comes out of the game, and the Pelicans have a lot of them, talks to the coach, go to the bench. Garrett gets up out of his seat, goes over to the player, talks to the player. He's basically getting hands-on on a player's salary, hands-on assistant coaching experience, so he can take that step and either get into coaching or what we like to think he's going to be somehow in the front office somewhere.
How about when he was in his prime, okay, and Sacramento signed him? One of the reasons they signed him was so he could go in and deal with a fairly strong personality there. And his locker was right next to this fairly strong personalities. I'm going to give you one guess as to who that fairly strong personality was. Sacramento.
Well, hold on. Sacramento a long time ago?
Yeah, a while back.
I don't know.
One of the more talented big men ever, really, skill-wise at the time.
Oh, DeMarcus Cousins, yeah. Keep DeMarcus out of trouble,
yeah. So his locker was right next to his, but he signed a big deal, and he played a lot for him. He started games and stuff.
He did well, yeah. Well, he earned that next contract by the way he played in Sacramento. Udonis Haslem, Jonathan, is another one that comes to mind. Nick Collison was that dude for a really long time, right? So that's, veterans is another one. Yeah, for sure. Too few teams. I didn't think that's a biggest issue facing the league. I do hear rumors of expansion. I think Vegas and Seattle are talked about and bantered kind of back and forth. Too much player empowerment. For a player to state that, you better hope it stays anonymous because the other players are going to hunt you down, brother.
Wow.
They're going to send James Johnson. They're going to send Bloodsport to find you.
Player
empowerment. I do agree with that. I think the power shift a little bit too much, right?
Oh, it has. It has, for sure.
Yeah. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right. What else? Anything else we need to talk about? Anything surprising you? What's surprising you in the playoffs? We've got a great series here with Sacramento and Golden State. We've got the Lakers series is 2-1 Lakers.
Yes.
With another game at LA.
Yes.
For game 4. So that's going to dictate the series quite likely. I shouldn't say that. If the Lakers win, it dictates the series. But if the Lakers lose, we've got a series.
What do you think Dillon Brooks' teammates think of him?
I don't think they hate him.
They have to, right? Did they not have to go, what kind of an idiot are you? Seriously. They have to,
I do.
I'm not, look, you know this. I'm not the biggest LeBron fan ever. I'm not against him either. I just am not a huge. I have never wanted him to go get 50 on somebody.
I wish you could go 50, 30, and 20.
Yes. Yeah.
I want him to have statistically the greatest game that anyone's ever had in the sport.
And I want him to do the shoulder shrug that he does, like after every basket that he makes. I want him to do that after every basket.
Let me ask you a question. This is a hypothetical. Stay with me.
Yeah.
Game 4. Brooks is not going to get suspended for the nut punch. He's going to play in game 4.
Yeah.
Would you rather? Okay, this is your choice. Okay. This is very Cajun Cardboard channel. All right. Only on Cajun Cardboard are you going to hear a question like this.
Amen.
Would you rather LeBron go 40, 25, and 20 on Dillon Brooks in game 4, or when the ball's tossed up for the jump ball, LeBron leans over and puts his fist right through Dillon Brooks' face and busts his face open, and Dillon Brooks has to catch the blood and then scurry off into the locker room to get stitched up? I'm telling you, I want you to honestly answer this question.
Okay, does LeBron – I'll choose the second one. If the officials agree, play on, because nobody cares.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah.
We were watching the jump ball. Everybody was watching the jump ball. Did you hit your head on something?
And they go to replay it to see because, Jenkins is hollering about it. And for some reason, the replay thing doesn't work anymore.
No. What's the city that they always go to? Secaucus? Caucasus?
Yeah.
Secaucus? I don't know. Something in New Jersey or something? Yeah. It's broken.
Yeah.
It's broken. And you know what? Dillon Brooks' nuts are not on his face, so it can't be a flagrant, right? You can only get a flagrant if you kick or punch testicles.
Right.
And so this is just his face.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a tough quandary, man. That's a quandary.
The explanation is his face just exploded. Nobody knows why. Yeah.
There's I must have had a bloody nose. You know how kids get bloody noses sometimes. Dillon just had a bloody nose. That's it. Show me the pinkies, grandfather.
Oh, we're in.
It gives me the chills.
All right. His face could look like that, maybe.
That's nasty. What's that light fixture you got going back there behind you? Is that you?
I'm at the crib right now.
Are you? Okay.
My wife put that up there. It's kind of a voodoo looking thing almost. Maybe
I like it. It's kind of space age. I thought you were on maybe a space station or something. All right. Thank you guys for watching. This was NBA Past and Present, episode number 18. Watch till the end. Hit one of these other videos on the thumbnail. If you like hearing us talk about NBA basketball, we got tons of other stuff on here about basketball cards, or whatever. There's a playlist with all of this NBA Past and Present stuff. If you want to watch every episode 1 through 18, some of this stuff is evergreen, which means it lasts forever and it'll make sense even a year or 2 years from now. Some of it is current events, but a lot of it will last forever and be enjoyable to listen to. You can also watch Cajun Cardboard channel stuff on Spotify, Apple, and Google Play. Those are podcast platforms. Do you know what a podcast is, grandfather?
Dude, I run one.
Oh, that's right. You do.
You do. But
what's wrong?
Only here can you see the grandfather.
That's right. Only here can you see me tame the grandfather.
My podcast, if you don't mind, I'll get it out, is called To Riches with me and Matt Moscona, our local ESPN guy. It talks about NIL, name, image, and likeness. You want to talk about the dark underworld of college sports, come listen to Rosters and Riches.
No, it's not an underworld anymore. It's out in the open. It's dark.
Right.
It's dark. It's the dark world.
Legal underworld. That's what it is. Yes.
The perfectly legal compensation paid to amateur players to share stuff on social media is what it should be called. Yeah.
Yes.
That would be too many letters. NIL sounds better. So
yes.
We'll leave it at that. All right, cool. Thank you guys for watching. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.